Before we talk about Paul Pogba, because I know it's a very passionate issue for you boys, let's talk about this game.
Brilliant game. Everybody thought that Manchester United were going to sit deep and soak up pressure. Well, they did that after about 20 minutes, but the first 20 minutes, they closed the ball down, they won it off Arsenal. Arsenal once again looked unprepared for the game at the start, although they were surprised that Manchester United are going to close them down. And they didn't do it very well. We saw Koscielny give the ball away. We saw Mustafi give the ball away. Then they didn't react well when the ball was played into the penalty box. But after that, Arsenal played some wonderful football. They got some great opportunities to score and get themselves level. But David De Gea was absolutely magnificent.
Proper match, wasn't it, Ali?
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is that was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
That was beautiful to watch. Now, that was entertainment. I've sat here before and I've talked about how sometimes watching Manchester United is just difficult to do. It is difficult to do because even having good players, Jose Mourinho sets them up to be defensive. But not in this match. Not at the start of the game, as Robert was talking to and alluding to, is the idea that Manchester United were able to press. And the reason they're able to press is because Arsenal were almost as if, hold on a second, they're going to press us? So what do we do now? Well, if somebody's pressing you and you're in trouble, you don't try to flick on balls across your box. You don't try to play too much. You don't try to overplay. Just put the ball on the other side of the field. You fight for it over there, and then you earn your right to play and you can have that possession. But they never did that. And once you give up 2 goals within 15 minutes, it makes it also very difficult. It was the David De Gea show because, in part, Manchester United dropped off in a manner that now it gave Arsenal that space that they were hoping for at the beginning of the game. It was a tremendous match to watch. It was entertaining. It was everything that you want to be. And it also showed that Manchester United can play and can go out and can showcase the talent that they have on the field.
I think this is a case of Jose Mourinho seeing a weakness in Arsenal. Catching them, of course, unaware, as you guys are both saying, but also knowing that there is no way that they are going to be able to bunker in against an Arsenal team that moved the ball extremely well. That's why next week it's going to be exciting to watch and see them what tactically they do against Man City, because Arsenal was a team, and we saw it as soon as they dropped off, Manchester United dropped off. We got a chance to see what Arsenal can do if given time and space.
Sure.
If David De Gea is not in goal, this game's a completely different scenario. We're looking at United coming out at halftime and having to change up their game plan again. The thing that really resonates with me is the understanding of what this United team is their coach is trying to get across from them. And that is the ability to change it up mid-game. To understand, okay, we've got our 2-goal lead. We don't have to keep pressing. Let's let them come on to us, and then use our ability to catch them at the counter.
But do you think he actually wanted to do that, or whether Arsenal forced him to go back? Because in the end, he was playing with 2 up front, and Lingard playing sort of in behind, and then suddenly he thought, well, we're getting outplayed here, we're getting outnumbered in wide areas, so he put Martial back out into a wide area. I think he was forced to do that by Arsenal, rather than actually choosing to do it in the first place.
I think he was very happy to do it, and understanding the scenario they were in, because you don't change a game plan because it's going right. You look at, they're up 2 goals, they get 2 goals because of their pressure, and certainly when you press enough, you're going to tire. But I don't think it was a tiring situation. I think they realized, wait a second, Arsenal has a little bit more impetus coming forward. They're certainly connecting passes better. It's time to drop off. It's time to get into that second mode that a coach has prepared their team for.
But I understand,
and they've done that very well.
I understand what you're saying, Brian, but they didn't do that very well, Manchester United, because they were not closing down the spaces. The chances were there. If David De Gea is the man of the match, it's because there were chances created and he's coming up with big saves. And so I think Manchester United got shy after the second goal, and rightfully so, because it's a natural reaction. Once you score 2 goals within the 15 minutes, you say, wait a minute. Job done.
And their forward players started to get sloppy. There was a period when they were 2-0 up and they had a chance to counter-attack on 3 other occasions, and Lukaku either gave it away cheaply or Martial just dallied too long on the ball.
I agree with you.
And that's when they should have really killed the game off.
I agree with you, but that's why Paul Pogba was such a big part of this.
Magnificent.
Because the ability to play someone and know that person's going to connect that next pass. Because if you're trying to counter, you need to have that first ball stick and be able to connect that next pass. And that's what Paul Pogba did.
They've left it late. You know, you take a look at the opposition, West Ham, Southampton and Huddersfield, you'd expect City to have these games done and dusted. However, on each of the last 3 occasions, they've had to rely on late goals. Are we seeing a little crack in this Manchester City armour?
But if Pep Guardiola watches the game again, I've seen it many, many times. The ball that kills teams that drop deep and want to play in their own, almost into their own 6-yard box, is that ball, that little diagonal that Kevin De Bruyne played for people coming round the back of the centre half. Even if you haven't got big players, and if you bend that ball in behind, you cause danger. And if teams want to drop that deep, that's the ball you have to play time and time again, because then they've got nothing. They just can't defend those balls into the box.
You know, some people would watch this game and have talked about the brilliance of Pep Guardiola and his decision making. I tend to look at it in the other way. The changes that he made at halftime are things that I think he should have done from the beginning of the game.
He brought on Jesus for
Yeah,
Danilo.
so Gabriel Jesus comes on at halftime. Coming into this match, we all knew exactly what West Ham were going to do. So why don't you start with Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Kun Agüero and force West Ham to have been occupied by two out-and-out strikers and two guys moving in and out of the box? And then that allows David Silva to run off of those guys. And it allows Kevin De Bruyne to run out from those guys. And Raheem Sterling gives you width and Leroy Sané gives you width. It was a good move to bring Gabriel Jesus at halftime, but I think it was a move that had to be done from the start of the match.
So Manchester United against Manchester City next weekend. Obviously, we'll be talking about it in detail throughout the week. Looking at it, do City have a little bit more of a vulnerability about them than maybe we thought, despite this incredible run?
I think we've looked at City and seen their ability going forward, and certainly some cracks defensively. If you can actually possess the ball and get that through that initial pressure quickly, which not many teams have done. The one thing that Robo was talking about, we've always known that they're going to be susceptible to corner kicks, to free kicks, balls played into the penalty area, and that was just emphasized here. And so does things change for this game after we've seen what's happened the last few games? No. I think everybody understands City's vulnerability, whether or not you can have that precision ball into the penalty area that you need to be able to break down a Manchester City. Hopefully, that's what United's probably going to be looking for them to be able to break things down, especially now that you don't have Pogba and you don't have the ability to have that presence in midfield to deal with that initial pressure, to connect that ball we were talking about earlier in the show. Listen, I think City is a phenomenal team. I do think there was one surprise. I thought Michael Antonio playing center forward was a brilliant move by David Moyes.
Oh, you love David Moyes. You love David Moyes.
Alderweireld not playing is a big blow for them. I think he's their best centre-half by far. Sanchez has done well since he's come in. I'm not a great fan of Vertonghen, but they've had a great defensive record, and I think it's been held together by Alderweireld, not playing at the moment. Dele Alli, they've been playing him up front. He's not a front player, he's a midfield player. Against Watford, he plays slightly better, playing that little bit deeper. And there's one or two problems in central midfield. Dembele's not at his fittest. You know, he's doing well on the ball. He's creating one or two opportunities, but it's not good defensively. Harry Winks is injured at the moment, so he was doing very well. So there's a lot of things that are slightly wrong, but I don't think it'd take a lot to get them back on course again.
What course?
You look
Course
at
is gone.
Okay, they're still in Europe. They can still get into the top four, but are they going to win the league? No.
You look at Tottenham, and when they're going well, they are a danger from both sides out wide. In this game, and without Danny Rose, you can see that the left side was not utilized to anything.
Right.
But they actually played with a lopsided midfield because Ericsson came in from the right-hand side and let Trippier go forward.
Yep.
On the other side, Son was actually playing as an outside left. So Davies couldn't get forward.
But Son was more inside than an outside. He could get forward. They actually couldn't free him up because Vertonghen just did not look like he was comfortable passing the ball, which is normally one of his strengths. And for me, this game and what's happening with Tottenham is they seem a bit off when they don't have the ability to get wide on both sides and cause teams problems, to open up space for Christian Eriksen, to open up space when Song plays, but more importantly, to give Harry Kane a little bit of extra room going forward. And they didn't have that today.
The difference for me between Spurs and, say, Manchester City, who's the class of the Premier League at this point, is that Manchester City over the last 3 games or so, they have been a little bit off, as you were talking about Spurs. But even being a little bit off, they're still able to do enough and to have enough of an impact going forward that they can score enough goals to win games. They can find ways to win games. Spurs, they don't have that in their game.
Right.
If they're a little bit off, then they're not winning games. And if you're not winning games, you can't keep up. And if you don't keep up, you're out of it. And that's exactly where Spurs find themselves, out of it.
Right then, gentlemen, let's take a look at Team of the Week. It was quite an eventful one, wasn't it, in the Premier League? Nickel and Gab Marcotti coming together to put this together. What initially jumps out, obviously, the manager, David Moyes.
Good choice.
I think they lost. Did they not, West Ham?
What's happening?
How can a manager be put on the team of the week when his team have lost? Did you have something to do with that?
You love David
I can
Moyes.
honestly say no, but hey, I'm happy for him.
Happy for whom? For David Moyes? I'm sure he's delighted for this. Come on.
You can't argue many of those, can you?
Well, De Gea is obviously a given. Hazard played well against Newcastle. Firmino made a difference.
Valencia played well. Pogba made some good inroads and made a couple of good tackles as well.
What about the one tackle in which he got sent off?
Good tackle. Stopped Bellerin coming forward. On the counter-attack.
Wait, yeah, he
Bellerin
did that.
was on the ground.
He did that.
But Pogba was excellent until that moment.
But does the fact he got sent off not diminish his appeal?
It could pull away some points, and yes, and in the end of the day, not have him on the team of the week.
Yeah.
But apparently they didn't feel that way.
Coutinho probably played the best he's played this season. He was magnificent against Brighton, so he was there.
Right.
So he deserved it.
Oh.
Emre Can went back to centre-half and he played well. So I think everybody on there deserved to be on there.
Who do you think of that Marcotti-Nickel combo pick David Moyes as the manager?
Definitely not Nickel.
It wouldn't have been.
Oh, no.
No, definitely not.
Because he's spoken to a lot of his Everton
He does
fans.
like David.
I mean, I know there's this
Checking emails.
There's
Yeah,
Scotland
I saw that,
connection there. I'm
He
just
does
saying,
like David Moyes, doesn't he,
But-
Stevie?
it's a ridiculous choice.
Yeah. Who should have been the manager, Rob?
But not David Moyes.
No, not David Moyes. Marco Silva did well. I know
1-1.
he didn't win the game. I know, but they
1-1.
outplayed Spurs for them. I'm trying to think of some other
Mourinho.
managers.
I'm just going to keep saying 1-1.
Mourinho set up his team
yeah.
well.
I mean, that's the hardest performance to win at Arsenal.
Yep.
3-1. He relied on David De Gea a little bit, although Brian doesn't agree with that. But
Oh, I do. I said David De Gea had an amazing game.
yes, I think Mourinho.
Big Sam?
Big Sam. I mean, he's just walked out onto the pitch, and that's all he's done. He hasn't taken the team at all. No,
They've
I'm not
won,
having Big.
they've
not
won
having-
2 since he's been in charge, haven't they?
No, he's just watched them. I'm not having Big Sam.
Just one. He was in the dressing room. He wasn't on the bench when they won.
He was in the stands, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
Just
wasn't in
inspiring.
charge.
Just Big Sam, just inspiring.
Just letting you
everyone.
know, on technicality, he wasn't necessarily officially in charge.
In fact, he was only unveiled on the evening of the game, wasn't he? He was at the training ground and then he went to the game to watch it. He didn't even go in the dressing room, so you can't say 2 games. You can only say 1 game.
But it was,
I think we're going sideways here, aren't we?
there it is, your team.
It's not only Ronaldo. Ronaldo is
that's
obviously the big name, and he's going to attract the attention. But Real Madrid, at their best last season, dominated through the midfield. Dominated with Modric, with Toni Kroos, with Casemiro. They dominated that area of the field. That's not happening this year.
Why aren't they dominating that area? Who's not playing very well? All of them?
Well, it's a combination, because Casemiro sometimes has to drop back, sometimes he pops forward. Modric, who we have seen with outstanding performance with Croatia, not quite the same with Real Madrid. If it's not one guy, it's the other, and in a combination, all 3 of them, it's not happening. And when you have that, then you're not controlling the matches the way that you're accustomed to doing. And also, you have the fact that this is a team that right now is lacking confidence. Because if you don't get result after result after result, then you don't have a level of confidence that allows you to show up and say, yeah, that's right, we're Real Madrid, and we're gonna get the win when we need to. Right now, they don't have that.
Any concern for Barca fans?
Yes, there should be. Umtiti being
Sure.
injured, I think, is a big concern, because he provides a level of athleticism that back line doesn't have with Piqué. Piqué gives you a lot of things, but not athleticism. Umtiti does that. Him not being available is a big question. In terms of the performance of Barcelona as a whole, you go up 2-1 at the Camp Nou, second half, you're supposed to see it out.
Sure.
And it's Celta de Vigo. It's not like, we're not talking about Atletico Madrid. We're not talking about Valencia or Real Madrid, for that matter. So you should be able to see it out. They don't. The dependency on Lionel Messi and the lack of performance and influence by Luis Suarez that we have seen now for a couple of months with Barcelona, that's worrying as well. But in the end, in terms of the points, it doesn't really matter, because everybody else just kind of collapsed around them. So nobody takes advantage of it. Barcelona keeps that lead ahead of Valencia and ahead of Real Madrid.
We talk about cracks in City's armour. We've seen cracks in PSG's armour.
Just a little bit. I mean, Cavani didn't start the game. He came on at half-time, so that was one area where they probably got it wrong. They didn't defend well enough throughout the pitch. And when you look at their midfield and their front players, there are no defensive players. Rabiot was the holding player, but he was racing forward as well. They didn't actually earn the right to play. I don't think they worked hard enough as a team. They didn't work hard enough to win the ball back, and that caused them the problem.
It's not a bad thing that they lose, by the way.
No.
For Unai Emery, it's an attention getter. It's one of those where you can use it. You can bring the players in and say, look, if we don't have the right attitude, we can get beat, whether it's Strasbourg or whether it's Champions League or somewhere else. PSG is a tremendous team, and they'll be right there near the end of Champions League, if not at the very end of Champions League. But this sort of result, I think Unai Emery can spin it, and then he's able to turn it into something positive. He can get the attention of the players.
Welcome into Extra Time in our new studio, which is very
nice.
good. You know, we're enjoying it so far. It's interesting, though, because it's got really loose wheels on these things. You can just, like, start going, and you're still going. Woohoo!
He's a big,
Okay.
he is
like
a big
it.
kid, isn't he?
I am. But if you get like a look, see, I can push it.
I'll hold on to the table. No, you won't.
Oh no!
Bumper chairs.
Ruin my bumper chairs. Oh, dear. See, our new one is getting redesigned, ready for the World Cup show that we're going to bring.
Oh.
So this is like a temporary one for a few months, then we're going to go back.
This is nice.
Yeah, it's all right, temporary, isn't it? Very good. How are you, Brian?
Well, thank you. How are
Annie.
you?
Brian's been telling me all about Annie,
Yes, my
the
youngest.
musical.
Been
Quite a
4
star, your
shows
daughter,
over the
isn't she?
weekend.
I
Yeah,
know,
she's,
so she
she's
did
done
great.
a great job, and
Yeah.
I now know every single Annie song.
Oh, you got to give us some.
Yeah,
You got to give us some.
All right, don't want to ruin my voice for the show.
Oh, I like it.
We've done this show.
What's your favourite music? I can't imagine you're a big musical fan, Robert.
Well, I'm going to name drop as well. Well, not name drop. My goddaughter was in the West End in School of Rock.
Oh, I'd like to see that. I like the film.
Very, very good play.
Really?
She was absolutely brilliant. Ellie Wilcox, her name is.
What was her role?
She was doing a lot of headbanging and a lot of guitar playing and just, I don't know what, she didn't have a name, but she was,
Oh,
she
nice.
was probably about fourth lead.
Well, she must have had a name if you're fourth lead.
And she's just one of the school kids.
No, the school kid's got a name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
my,
don't remember what it is.
my daughter had a name.
Yeah, see?
Hey,
Oh, you
That's
got,
it.
oh, you got one up on me then, all right, yeah, fair enough.
I like School of Rock. Good film.
Very good.
Good film.
No, she wasn't Annie. She was Kate.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Controversy.
Lou was in my ear.
Little controversy there.
Oh, my goddaughter.
Lou is Brian's friend in his head.
What? Yes. No.
Dream Girls, there's another one. I went to see Dream Girls.
What are you doing to me?
You said something about theatre.
Yes.
So I've
Good.
mentioned them.
That's all right.
Good.
What? You want to see if I got something?
I can't see.
Hey,
You're not a theatre man.
Gregory was Kurt in Sound of Music.
Gregory's your
yeah.
youngest son. He had a name.
Yeah. He definitely did.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's right. Okay, let's take a look at some of your questions. The first one about Manchester City. If City go deep in the Champions League, for example, the semi-finals, could that be the reason they slip up in the league and allow any of the other 5 teams in the top 6 to catch up?
It could hinder them, but I'm not sure it will. The reason, if they don't win the league, they don't win the title, because they haven't defended well enough from set plays and haven't defended enough on the counter-attack. But I think they will, and I think they will win the league.
Oh, there you are. There you go.
I mean, this is looking for a reason as to why Manchester City wouldn't win the title. I don't see it.
Don't look at it. Don't look for a reason. No. All right. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at your next tweet. Who is better manager, Jose or Pep?
I would say Pep Guardiola is a magnificent manager because he's changed the way teams have played, where he's been in charge of them. He's made, although he didn't win the Champions League at Bayern Munich, he made them play much better football. They won the title there a couple of times. If you were getting a manager to take an average team or just a good team and make them winners without being extra special, you go for Jose Mourinho. But I'm going to go for Pep Guardiola.
Pep Guardiola.
That's my answer.
All right.
Ali?
Yeah, it's about style. What you like to see out of your teams, and if that's the case, then it's Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
David Moyes?
He's up there.
Why isn't he? Yeah, why isn't he on that?
Well, I've got to assume it's a given.
You can't believe it.
Right, Judge,
I think if you're looking at it just blank canvas, I think Pep's ideas are probably second to none.
Yeah.
The way he looks at the game, the way he tries to get his teams to play. I think Jose is a brilliant mind, but he has one set way of playing. And I know you're going to say Pep does too, but Pep molds those players into that way of doing it, whereas Jose, it's been an easier transition to play his brand of soccer.
We cannot argue with the success that
They're
both
great.
have
They're
in
both
their
great
own
managers.
ways.
Yep.
So in that regard, Jose Mourinho is a tremendous manager, but better.
He's won the Champions League with 2 average teams.
Okay.
He's gone. He doesn't want to hear you anymore.
Lots of big names at the top of the Premier League scoring chart right now. Who takes home the Golden Boot at the end of the season? Salah obviously top at the moment.
I don't think
Who are you
he'll
going,
take
Brian?
it.
Who have you got?
I think at the beginning of the season I said Sergio Aguero.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Sergio Aguero.
Aguero?
Yeah, I had Aguero at the beginning. That's what I'm riding with, yeah.
Difficult. I think Harry Kane will come back into form for Tottenham.
Right.
And he will be at the top of the scoring.
ESPN FC is back to you tomorrow.